Sorry, fellas, I ran a little late. Had to make coffee. Turkey vulture. Foot of snow, that's nice, eh? Neo digging out too. Just gonna double check that went through. And that's something. Come on down.
Hello.
Hey, man.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Right
Lots
on.
of snow. Lots of snow.
How's your weekend treating you?
Good, good, good so far. Yep.
Excellent. V-Dog, how you doing, man? Let me quiet it down a bit here. Yeah, I apologize. I was a little bit late there. I fell asleep and then made coffee. Wake my ass up. See if I assume Thomas is going to be here.
Yeah, he should be, unless he's run out of energy from.
Yeah, no kidding. Was there a big show last night or anything?
I don't know. I guess there must have been something, but there's a couple of channels I don't really watch, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, same here. I didn't watch much of anything this week, actually, so I don't even have a topic of discussion to go by.
I caught a little bit of a stream on Friday. I did watch another great Watchbox interview, the Max Buser one. That was good.
You assume right, my friend.
How are you doing, man?
Yeah, not bad. How you been for the past week?
Not too bad.
Good, good.
Trying to keep busy. Trying to keep not too busy, though.
Entertain yourself.
Yep, exactly.
How you been, NS? You been all right?
Yep. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Bruce.
You been all right, Bruce? How was Super Bowl Sunday?
It was good. This is kind of breaking up, so I don't know. Maybe I'll try to come back in again.
Yeah, jump off and jump back on again. So what were you guys chatting about?
Just got on. I got on a little late. I had to make coffee.
You said you'd seen a video, NS. You said you'd been watching a video.
Yeah, I watched the Watchbox Max Buser interview.
All right.
I don't know if you watched that, but for those who don't know, Max Buser is he's the namesake and founder of MBNF.
All right.
Yep. So it was a very, very interesting interview. Very interesting. So
I take it he's in Switzerland somewhere?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he runs a very interesting watch company and a very interesting way of doing things and handling contributors and who actually works on watches and things like that. It's very interesting.
That's another one that I need to learn all about is the MB&H.
Yeah, MBNF. Yeah, it's
MB&F. Yeah.
A lot of people dismiss them because they make some really out there designs, right? But they also make the legacy machine watches that are normal circular watches and just beautiful. And yeah, it's a very different way of approaching how he makes watches. The reason why it's called MBNF, it's Max Buster and Friends. And if you go on the website, they detail everybody that works on watches, right? All the names are there. It's not like hidden away, right, where you never know who works on what and who are the collaborators and all that stuff. It's very it's all out there. And the guy had a very cool path through the industry. He worked at Gégère Lecoultre, he worked at Harry Winston. Yeah, very interesting guy.
Very seasoned bloke then.
Yep, definitely.
I'll bring that screen up in a bit, and we'll take a look at that.
I did see the Grubel Forsey interview that Tim Mosso did.
Yeah, I started watching it, and I never got through it. I just was so busy. Those are the videos that I basically watch like on Saturday or Sunday mornings, and I couldn't get through it. But yeah, I need to finish that one. Also, very interesting interview.
Yeah, he just basically went into explaining how his ideology is to hand make everything, as many parts of the watch as possible. And to hand make every individual bit that goes into the watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people that are most people that are knowledgeable at that level, right? Meaning that they know about those watches, but have also handled them, in their hands, which is important, right? Because you have a lot of people that will pass judgment on those watches, but have never actually seen one in person. But most people that have seem to say that Grubel Forsey are probably the ones with the best finishing out there.
Really?
Yeah, which is saying a lot, I think, from who it's coming from. And we have Neo on.
Yes. Hello, Neo.
Hey guys, how's it going?
You're right, buddy. How you doing, my friend?
Hello.
Guys, can you hear me?
I
Yeah, we can hear you, Blue Shirt. Yeah.
Okay, great. How is everybody?
Yeah, fine. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
How was the Super Bowl Sunday for Neo and Blue Shirt then? What did you get up to?
Oh, it was good. It was just in a local bar with my friends watching the game. It was a good time.
Yeah, what did you get up to, Neo?
I went to my sister's, and my brother-in-law makes a pretty awesome chili for us every year, and
nice.
Kind of hung out there. So yeah, it was mostly just hang out with family.
Nice and chilled.
Got to say hello to Roy Gould. He's a local YouTuber around here who makes interesting stuff all around town.
Hey, Roy. You all right, Roy?
And Carlos, how you doing, man?
Hi, Carlos.
And V-Dog, he's another local to this area.
V-Dog.
Nice.
Hello to everyone.
I should shoot Jerry a text here, see if I can get him on.
Yeah, Jerry said
Carlos and Thomas as being the sort of bedrocks that we have, one on in Europe and one in South America, Central America. And those guys are just like, you guys to me are like the bedrocks of a lot of these discussions.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's good to hear your take, Neo. I think you're a hidden light.
I'm not a light. I'm darkness.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing though when you think about like what Grubel Forsey are doing, and like you watch them building these things, and it's truly out of craftsmanship, right? It is. Please allow us to show you how amazing we can execute on our craft, which is kind of, when you think about it, in a lot of ways similar to what master painters probably had, right? I mean, they had out and out patrons, and some of these watchmakers, we may not call them patrons, but when people are spending $500,000 on your watch, they're essentially patrons at that point, right? They're more than just consumers.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah. You're buying into the brand, aren't you?
Yeah, like you are, and it's like when you see some of these really high end guys like MB&F, Urwerk, FB Jorn, even when you think about like H Moser and what they're doing, I mean, again, people who are buying those products are supporting them. They are very much patrons for that.
You got to be a fanboy, yeah. You've only got to look at people like producer Michael. He's into his Jacob and Co.'s and his Richard Mills, and he's a patron to those guys. I reckon.
You got to, yeah. They're
often talk about Richard Mille, and you look at these amazing, spectacular prices that their watches are fetching, and you look at their watch, and yeah, there's a lot of bling going on, but they're actually really amazing watches on the inside. I mean, he had very good watchmakers making his watches historically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But
yeah,
it's all objective, really, isn't it? When it comes down to it, it's all what personal taste,
Yeah, Richard Mille is a great example of, everybody has this obsession with in-house, sometimes in-house movement, in-house everything, and I don't think Richard Mille does anything in-house, right? It's all outsourced, and but it's all outsourced to the best, right? And so they get the best of the Vaucher movements, they get the best of everything, best of the cases, and they turn around a great product. That's, it's maybe divisive a little bit amongst some people, but it's a great product.
Yeah.
It's
so
taste.
Neo.
I mean, we see a whole bunch of people. Oh, go ahead.
Neo, I just want to be a little bit sneaky and get you to tell us your story about watches. How did you get into watches?
Similar story to probably what everybody here has gone through. Archie Luxury actually did a paid review of my very first watch. Yeah, it was, I think I was 5, and my grandmother at the time took me to a toy store, and I remember she said you can have any toy you want, and I picked out a watch that had like a little space capsule on one side attached to an astronaut on the other side as it would go around, and that watch, if you didn't see it and I just told you the specs, so it's a Swiss automatic watch. It had tritium lume. It was manual wind. Like it might start sounding interesting until you realize it's like, meant for a 5-year-old. And I still have that watch. So like, it started back then. I grew up with, G-Shocks. Probably like by the time I was in college, I was wearing swatches and fossils and that type of stuff. And then I didn't really own a watch for a while. And I started running into like the watch magazines, like Watch Time and all those. And then that's when I started looking at watches and thinking like, oh, that's right, I love these things. And I think I was like around 38 when I still remember, like I was looking to buy a watch, and all through like magazines, like, so I hadn't actually seen that many of them. And I remember like thinking back then, like I was looking at getting like a khaki, Hamilton khaki, a Fortis, an IWC Big Pilot, an Oris, like those types of, they were either like field or military watches that I was really looking at. And I pulled the trigger. I got like an Oris Classic Date. And I don't know, like I think back then that watch was like just under $1,000, and I thought like, this is just insane. I'm about to go spend $1,000 on a watch. And pretty quickly thereafter, I bought like a PAM 111. So that was like my first really, really nice watch after getting that.
Right.
Oris. And I still have that Oris. I still wear that Oris often, actually. But then I got a PAM 111. And I had that for a really long time. Then I got a Planet Ocean, like the original sizes. It was the orange bezel with the orange letters, numbers on it. And then that watch, I left at the airport. They made me take it off, and I was when they wanted to do a search, they made me take it off. I was late for my plane. I got done with the search. I sprinted to to go get my flight, and turned around and went back, and that watch was gone.
That stinks.
Yeah. Oh. And that was probably like, I don't know, probably like 13 years ago now, 10, 13 years ago. No, maybe like 10-ish, 10, 11 years ago was when I lost that watch. But it was basically like through magazines that I would like look at these things and think like, oh my God, these things are just beautiful objects. I kind of wish back then I would have bought the IWC Big Pilot. It's still one of those watches that I think about to this day. But then like I didn't really buy watches for a long time after like I lost my Planet Ocean, because I mean that was like a big hit for me.
Sure.
And then I started making a list, like what are all the watches that I would want to buy. And that list is still pretty solid to this day. Like, some stuff's to come off, some stuff has been added because they're new additions. But my original list is still kind of like the list that drives me. They're all pretty much icons. I'm mostly drawn to a lot of the icons, and I would force myself to get all those before I got something crazy. So.
What is something crazy to you?
Oh, I would love to have an Urwerk one day. But, like, one, you've got to come up with 40K that you're willing to drop on a watch.
Yeah.
And two, like, quite honestly, like, if I had 40K to drop on a watch, I would put 20K in each of my two nieces' college fund, to be 100% honest. Like, I would do that before I actually bought a watch for 40K.
Yeah.
But I could still dream, though, right?
Yeah.
Of course you can.
We all have the win the lotto watch.
Oh, yeah. No, I would get, like, if I like actually did win the lottery, like I'd go with 4Cs. I'd buy MBNFs. Like I would want like one of each of the desk clocks that MBNF has ever came out with. I'd go get like all the Urwerks, since I can't really figure out which one I would want to buy. I would buy those types of watches way before I got like an AP or a Patek. I would definitely be one of the people that would get a Lange before I would get a Patek or an AP. If I win the lottery, like I want like the striking time sight work.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a lottery watch.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that watch is what, like 175, 225, something like that, right? It's insane.
Yeah, and the reason why you can't find it used for like 65% off, like most Pateks, is because they don't make that many. a year.
Right.
They don't make that many Langes to begin with, and they certainly don't make that many of that watch.
Yeah.
So it's that's a really, really cool watch. Really cool.
Are those made by one set of hands, or do they go down a line? And
I don't know. I don't know that much about how those are manufactured, but so like forget the striking time, right? The striking time adds tons of complexity to the watch. The base Zeit work is already incredibly complicated, even though it's not, it doesn't have a ton of complications, but the sort of digital time complication is incredibly complex in of itself. Because to be able to constantly, every minute, for the time to change instantaneously, because that's how that one works.
Right.
It has to accelerate and decelerate. So there's a really, really complex mechanism. So I don't know, but it's not a watch that they have, the junior watchmaker making it on the production line.
I remember watching this video a while back, and it was just one guy making a watch by himself, and he was being such a perfectionist about it. I wish I could remember the name. He's Japanese. That's as much as I remember. And he's, bluing the hands by himself, and gets a little darker than he wants. It's garbage. And he's just starting over from scratch at that point, and then hours and hours and hours of work into one piece, and he just threw it away, recycled it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it
This
was
is
pretty
a
amazing.
watchmaker I've seen. He's like a younger guy. There's actually like a documentary of him on YouTube that's, I want to say, like maybe a half hour to an hour long. It's fairly detailed, and watch him. It's him recreating an ancient Japanese clock as a wristwatch. And
I think that's the one.
is it? So what's different about this particular watch is like it's told based on the time of the seasons. And he ended up becoming like getting into the academy of young watchmakers. I forget the name of that academy, through producing this one piece. But yeah, like it's him like in his house, in his garage, essentially making a watch by hand. And that's
is that the guy who's in the Academy of Independent Watchmakers?
yep. He got in there through that one watch.
Yeah. So that might be Hajime Hasaoka, because there aren't that many Asian watchmakers in that academy, and he's one that's in there, and he makes some. I think he has 3. Well, I say production models, right? But they're one-man shop, right? So production means he makes a couple a year, but he has 3 models, including the Tsunami, which is really, really cool watch. It's really, really nice watches.
Yeah.
I think I found
another
it.
sort of lottery type watch, right? You go to that kind of like, can you please make me one of these?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's interesting.
Masahiro.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's interesting you talk about recreating a pocket watch, because that was part of the interview with Philippe Dufault, right? And Tommaso was bringing up that a lot of the really, really high-end master watchmakers like Philippe Dufault, Michel Parmigiani, all those guys started, even F. Pigeon, right? They started as master watchmakers that would restore old pocket watches.
Right.
And because of the whole quartz crisis, and everybody talks about the quartz crisis, but also when watches went from pocket watches to wristwatches, a lot of them, a lot of the complexity in some of the later pocket watches never really made it into wristwatches. So, Philip Defoe was saying that in an interview, and same with Parmigiani. They're all saying, they were looking at old pocket watches as they were restoring them to figure out, like, okay, what were these old complications that never even made it to wristwatches? So it's very, very interesting.
Well, so NS, you're a computer programmer, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm a computer programmer, and I don't know if you notice this, but I kind of notice this, and I think it does apply with watches. Like, people who grew up having to do a lot with little typically have a far better understanding of these complicated systems than the people who are just coming up now and don't really need to understand what's actually going on fundamentally. And they could just use the knowledge that's been created over the ages, and they just think of it as black boxes. They like know, okay, I need something here to do something like this, and something here to do something like this, and then I can make this end product. So they can make an end product that's very nice, but they don't necessarily have, I think, a deep fundamental understanding of what it is that they're doing. And I'm sure that's true everywhere, right? In every craft. And
I completely agree. Yeah. The whole like infinite memory, infinite CPU.
Yeah. And so like these guys are looking like, if these guys are starting off with a pocket watch, where one, you're starting with a very base fundamental technology, right? Like, let's say mechanics of the 1900s, 1920s, 1930s. That's different than what's going on now. But I think because they fundamentally understand engineering and mechanical engineering and mechanics, they are able to come up with a far more interesting product now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so, and I think what you just said is kind of what Philip Defoe was getting at in his interview when, he was saying those biggest watchmaking schools are basically stuck at a point now where they almost think like, okay, nothing new is going to get invented. It's all been done, right? You're just getting the skills to refinish stuff a little bit after it's been manufactured by a machine, and you're just there to assemble stuff as opposed to create something. And a lot of these independents have when you watch like a tour from the Watches TV, right? It's a great channel. They go tour all of these little watchmakers, and you see those little independent watchmakers. They all like have a very solid engineering department, doing stuff, but not just maintaining old technology or doing incremental improvements. And there's a video. If you want to compare two things, watch the video about the the new Patek, the weekly. What do you call it? The calendar that shows you the weeks. It's the new Calatrava that's in steel that has that calendar. And if you watch the Patek Philippe video about it, they tell you all the improvements on the movement that are like really, really like minor improvements, right? We improved this little thing, we improved that little thing, but they didn't do anything major to the movement, right? It's like they're there to basically maintain old technology, old stuff. Whereas you see these independents that are like, oh yeah, we, our goal was to make like the perpetual calendar with 12 parts, right? Whereas these other guys are like, yeah, our perpetual calendar with 260 parts now is like 5% more efficient than it used to be.
Yeah. I think if I was to be a watchmaker, I think there's like different skills that I don't think like I would be the person that would get totally lost and making a guilloche pattern on a dial, which I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, we can totally zone out and make this perfect. Like, that wouldn't be me. Like, I would want to build like the engineering parts. Like, I would, that's the thing that would draw me the most, in the architecture of the movement, how it's engineered, how it's laid out. You know, to me, that's far more interesting. And I think that's why I'm sort of attracted to some of these other types of watches that keep track of time and display time in different ways. I'm not really too. Yes, I would totally understand that when I see something that's like a bridge that's finished spectacularly, I can totally enjoy it. But that's not what I would want to do if I was a watchmaker. I'm glad somebody's doing it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. One of the interesting things when I was with Bill Sanders at Watch Time back in October, and we were having a discussion with Stephen Forsey, and he's just like, basically, you know, we like to do stuff that hasn't been done before and that's hard to do. And if, you know, we want to do something and there's a part that we need that isn't manufactured, we make it. And if nobody else makes this, you know, particular part, we'll put together the machine that makes the part. And it was really fascinating.
Yeah,
It's just totally at another level.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what they're saying on the Watchbox interview. That pretty much that they would just strive to make parts, and you know, that's their goal, is to make as many parts as they can for their watches.
And it's how some of these older movement companies, that's how they used to be, right? Like like Jaeger-LeCoultre, right? When they invented when they built the Reverso, they had to build a new tool to measure, you know, the microns, right? Whenever they needed a new movement, they would just build one. And unfortunately, I don't think you see that from a lot of watchmakers that are more mainstream. But I don't necessarily fault them either, because a lot of them were never movement makers.
Right.
Most of the biggest high-end makers never made their own movements. The whole in-house thing is new, so you can't necessarily fault you know, a Patek or an AP for not being always on the bleeding edge. That was never what they were.
Right.
But I guess it depends what you're into.
How many, you know, they're tool makers too, right? Machinists, essentially. If they're making their everything that goes in house, they're likely making the tools to make the parts, and then hand assembling them to a degree. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of hand work on it.
I think for the internals, that has changed a little bit because of with all the CNC machining, right? I think for the movement parts, you can mostly do most of them with the newer CNC machines. I think that's still true for finishing. You know, for finishing, they still look, it goes all the way down to, you know, when they finish, it's not just with I don't know if you've ever seen how they finish parts. It's not just industrial abrasives, right? They also use wood to polish and plants,
right?
Like dried plants, and you know, they grow their own you know, reeds and stuff like that to be able to finish the way they want to. So they still build some of their own tools, but obviously some of that has changed. But they still need to build tools or maintain old tools. When the Watches TV visited Akrivia, right? They were showing how they're buying old tools, old machinery. Same with Grupo Force, right? When they did their handmade watch, they had to buy. They took a couple of years just to find the old machinery to build it. So yeah, they build tools. It's really it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, even like I think it was the watch, not the watch, it's TV, Watch Advisor. They were touring through a Langa and Zona, and I think there's one lady in the entire company, and she's the only one that does the guilloche on the dials. And you know, when she's not in, nobody's doing it because she's the only one that can do it. Almost
the
Mhm.
engine turning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, if you want to see the enamel, if you want to see enameling and guilloche in action, there's a couple of Gégère Lecoq videos when last year they came out with, you know, they have like the Master Control Moon, the Minute Repeater, and I think the Perpetual Calendar, right? They took 3 of them, and they're going for crazy prices instead of the usual price because they're handmade, hand enameled, and hand guilloched, the dials. And they have a video where they show one guy doing it, and it's and to their credit, Gégère Lecoq actually has they created a division. I forget what's the name of it. It's like the or something like arts and crafts or something like that. It's not exactly that, but they have a division just to maintain the artisan craft, all those things, you know, like hand guilloche, hand enameling, micro painting, those types of things that are disappearing that you can't really get trained on anymore. So they have their own like division and academy inside the company to teach people.
Yeah, and then we wonder why
there's a real
watches.
Yep.
There's a real worry in the industry that some of this skill is going to be lost because there aren't a lot of people, waiting to learn this stuff.
Well, look, I'd go a step
for it.
Yeah, I'd go a step further. I think you're right, but I think the real problem, like with a lot of things, is that you have a lot of people that are in the hobby that don't value that, right? It's sad to say, but you have a lot of people, you know, especially people that are more into hype watches, you know, they'll look at one of these watches that's expensive, that was made by hand, that's hand finished, and their first reaction is like, wow, like $40,000 for that new? Like, are you crazy? I'll go out and buy like 2 gray market Pepsis for that. But
yeah,
you know, and I think that's the biggest thing with the industry is whether people put a value on that more than are people getting trained. Because if people put a value on those things, people will get trained, and you will end up with companies that keep making that. But
you're 100% right. We know these people, right? We see them all the time. They have $150,000 and they bought the same freaking watch 10 times, right? They bought they bought a Rolex in 10 different times, 10 different slightly different packages.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
It's the same case. It's the same watch.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your money? You got more money than sense, or you've got more money than good taste.
Yeah. And I mean, look, not that there's anything wrong with Rolex, right? I always want to. I never want to try to come off as anti-Rolex, right? I think that they make great watches and everything, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
it's yeah.
A lot of us here have one because they are
absolutely
pretty damn good. Like if I could afford to have, you know, a Z Blue Milgauss, I would totally have that. You know, I would love a Bluesy, but at the same time though, like there's a lot of other watches I would buy before I got a Bluesy.
Yeah. Now the Z Blue Milgauss and the Explorer 39 millimeter, right? Look, I don't own a Rolex, and I have no plans to buy one soon. But that Explorer and that Milgauss are the two watches that I would really want to buy one day. Right? Like one day I will buy one, and it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
I got the Explorer.
They're
If
both
I didn't get the
great.
Explorer, I'd get the Z Blue Milgauss.
Mhm.
But I can't, like, I can't justify having two Rolex straight, you know, simple three-handers.
Time only. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I would love the Z Blue, but I already have the Explorer, so.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the same.
Yeah, I'm the other way around.
Yeah, it would probably have to be one or the other for me. But having said that, they're both so look, I think when you have a collection, there's definitely a diminishing returns on number of watches that you own, right? You can't wear all of them. At some point, you're not wearing them enough. But
Right.
having said that, a three-hander, no date, to me is like the perfect um, mechanical watch, especially if you have more than 3 or 4 and you're not going to wear it all the time, because at any point in time you can just pick it up, right? And you're always like 11 hours from setting it properly.
Yeah.
Right? You're always in
Exactly.
that range. It's so easy.
It's one of the most versatile pieces.
Yep.
And, it's easy to grab and go. I agree with you completely.
Yeah, the simplest one watch collection you could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or when you have more than one, right, and you're not wearing it all the time, then it's a great watch to have there in the box that you're not wearing often. But when you do decide to wear it, it's not like that's why, as much as I want a perpetual calendar, and I really, really would like my next watch to be a Moser perpetual calendar, but it's not going to be a watch I wear every day. So even though it's super easy to set and you can set it backwards and forward, it would probably end up being a watch I don't wear that much, because every time I'd want to wear it, I'd need like 5 minutes to set it. So
God, we're so lazy, aren't we? But I feel exactly the same way. Like I look at any calendar complication and I think that's really not going to work in my lifestyle.
Yeah, that's why, even though I used to not be super. Well, look, I've always liked chronographs, but I'm warming up to the complication more and more. Like I always liked chronographs, but I always thought I have one that's going to be enough, right? I don't need 5 chronographs or anything like that. But if you want something that's a little bit more complicated than a simple date, the chronograph is a great complication that you don't have to set. Right, so it's still a grab and go type of watch, but the moon phase is also nice. Sorry,
the chronograph is my favorite complication. It's the only complication that allows you to capture time and hold on to it for as long as you want.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Like something takes place and you've got it right there, and until you hit that reset button, it's right there forever.
Yeah.
So Neil, can you run us through some of your watches?
Sure. So I've got well, okay, so right now I'm wearing a G-Shock because I'm out in snow. So that's my and when it comes to G-Shocks, I only like the 5600 case, like the square case.
Right.
I don't like any of the round ones. I don't even.
Yeah.
And in my mind, a G-Shock has to be black, plastic, rubbery type stuff. Like I don't want a gold G-Shock. I don't want a metal G-Shock.
No, don't want a metal one.
So I have a G-Shock.
It got to be versatile, hasn't it? It's got to be able to get wet and be rugged and bash about.
I also have a System 51 because I think like holy cow, like they just made a watch with only 51 parts, 100% made by machine. Like why does any watch have 52 parts when you can get away with 51?
Yeah, sure.
So like I got that because of that, and that's kind of like the same reason I have like let's say like a Seiko 5. Like a Seiko 5 is this watch, 3 hertz, been around for like 60 years now, and
yeah,
the workhorse of a movement. Like it is a horological footnote of like it's a highlight. That's what they did with the Seiko 5s.
It's got heritage, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I have one just because of that part. And then let's say like I've got like a Seiko Blue Lagoon and a Turtle only because they're because like I'd say my Turtle is orange and I like orange, and it's just kind of like a fun watch to wear. And the same thing with the Blue Lagoon, it just looks fun. So those are probably like what else did I get? I have like I bought that Timex Q, which it's a really crappy quartz movement. Like I put my Q on a few days ago, and it was like 3 minutes off. I was like, what the hell? This thing sucks.
Really?
Why do I have a quartz movement that's 3 minutes off in like the last couple of months? So like probably like my cheaper watches, like my quote unquote nicer watches are my PAM 111. I love that watch. I love the new carbon PAM that came out like last week, just recently.
Carbotech one, yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's a sandwich style. I have an Explorer 1, the 39 mil. I've got a Tudor GMT, and I kind of got my
Pepsi. Is that the Pepsi one?
Yeah, the Pepsi one.
Yeah, nice.
So I got that. Like I remember, I put the order in right when they got announced at Basel, and like there's a case where like I broke my own rule. Like I'm like, look, I don't really want the Tudor GMT. What I really want is a Batman. But I'm gonna get this because I'm never gonna get a Batman. And I got the Tudor GMT, and I actually fell in love with that watch. That is such a cool, fun watch.
It is. It is.
But mine broke. Like in the first couple of months, mine ended up going back to a Tudor 3 times. The third time, like, I want a new one. Don't fix it. I just want a new one. I'm sorry. And they did give me a new one. And a week after I got the new one, the AD called me up and offered me the Batman.
Double gutted.
Yeah. So I ended up getting the Batman, and I now have like what is essentially a brand new Tudor GMT sitting in a box that I have not actually worn.
So you got the Batman as well now?
I do. I have the Batman.
Right. Lovely.
And like I'm like part of me wants to keep the Tudor GMT, and maybe that'll be my travel watch, but part of me thinks I should sell it and get a Pelagos LHD, because I really want one of those. I do have.
They're nice watches, aren't they?
Yeah, I love the LHD.
Really,
to me, that's
they're
like
really nice. I love the faux patina on the LHD.
Yeah, I love everything about it. Like I don't even look at it as faux patina. I think it's like a design decision to make it that color. It works with titanium. It's more muted. It's
it's just a sort of creamy. I think you're right. Actually, it's just a sort of creamy coloured sort of indices and hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than a a blatant white. It's a
Yeah,
nice sort of creamy tone.
I totally agree, and I think people need to stop always thinking about that being faux patina because, and I think people think that way because it's a sports watch. But if you look at a lot of dress watches have patina that's yellow or cream. Sorry, loom. I said patina. Loom that is yellow or cream or greenish.
Yep,
Right?
yep,
And it's not made to look like patina. It's made to be an accent color. So if you look
Right.
at the and I'm actually wearing it right now, the JLC Geophysic, right, the True Second, the loom pips around the dial are yellowing, and the loom on the hands and the center of the hands are like that as well, just because it's a nice contrast. So
yep.
I don't, I know it looks like faux patina, but it's on the LHD with the date that's alternating from black to red. It looks great. It's more like you said, Neil. It's a design choice.
Yep. And then the last watch I have is the Zenith El Primero tricolor, the 38 mil white dial, which is
Beautiful.
Nice. Very nice.
That's pretty much like my daily work watch, to be honest with you guys. Because nobody knows what that watch is, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Like
very under the radar, isn't it? But it's a beautiful watch to wear. Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, that's a great watch for that.
Yeah, I usually buy watches based on what I think my different personalities are. So, for example, I like to go to jazz clubs a lot. So, like, I think like, oh, what's a great watch that I would wear to a jazz club? Like, my El Primero would be like one that I would wear to a jazz club, let's say, or then over like a Pam, as an example.
Right. Right.
So I usually think of like, who are like the different personalities stuck inside my head. Who are the people who I wish I was, and I could put on the watch and then be that person.
So what is the Pam for then?
Excuse me?
So what's the Pam? What's the Panerai for?
I usually
is that what you want to go see Jizza?
I usually actually think of my Pam as like, like if I'm going out to like, a hip bar or a hip restaurant, then I can have my Pam on. It's because it's just so different than even now, right? Like even in the world of big watches, Pams are just so different. But that was like one of those watches where like when they, like in 10, 12 years ago, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Of course, this is the watch that we should be buying right now.
That was just exactly like me, Neil.
Yeah.
I was totally swept away with it.
Yeah. But that's how you should buy a watch, right? If you actually like it.
Yep.
So it's like, when Pam sort of, fell out of favor as a hype watch, I'd say, right? People were dumping them. But that's the cool thing about buying a watch. I always joke around, right? That the big problem with buying watches because you like them, the big problem with that is that you're going to end up with watches that you actually like. Right?
Yep.
But that's the cool thing about buying a Pam because you like it, right? You'll still like it when people that never liked it realize that they never liked it. So,
and it's
whether it's in or out of fashion, you'll always like it.
And it's a memory of a moment in time in your life, isn't it? It's a great thing about it.
I'll say the thing about Panerais that, and this might sound weird, but every time I've been into an AD that has like a big Panerai section, it's almost like scary, right? They're so huge, so big, and I think that does them a disservice, because I think a lot of people end up not trying them on when they probably should. So I like that they now have like smaller versions, smaller cases.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
42 mil.
yeah, because it's a little bit weird. You look at the case and they're all huge, and you're almost like scared of asking to try one on. But they're nice watches, and the new movements are really really cool. I find. Um, I think Panerai is one of those brands that, um, unlike IWC, right? I think they really took advantage of their position, being part of the Richemont group, and really, are getting great movements into their watches. And they have for a while, right? The 8-day GLC movement that they had was also great. I think they're really really cool watches, and even the ETA based ones are just, they're fun because they're different. So
Yeah, that's what my 111 is. A straight ETA based one, manual wind. It's gigantic. It looks cool though. Like when you're like, it's pretty funny. Like my Pan 111 is the only watch I've had where a girlfriend actually wanted to wear it, and like she would sometimes like take it just so that she can keep it around and wind it. Like it was like really into just winding it and listening to it wind, and just looking at the back. But and the only other watch I've had a compliment on wearing was actually my Tudor GMT, the Pepsi. I was at a bar and I had somebody, like I had a female, like start really asking a lot of questions about it, and unfortunately she was sitting there with her boyfriend, but it was still kind of fun having her that interested in. Never though, no other watches have I had any interest in by anyone.
Really?
Yeah, never.
How often do you guys recognize another guy's watch?
I look out for other people's watches, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, not like
I do too.
Not in like a stalker kind of way, but
no.
But yeah, like I used to travel a lot more for work. I travel a lot less. But when I used to travel a lot, like at the airport, and I actually traveled this week. I was in Toronto for a day, and actually spotted a guy who was pretty heavy set, and he had the James Cameron Rolex on, and yeah, the guy was pretty heavy and very tall, and it still looked ridiculously huge and out of place on his wrist.
Yeah, I watch is just gigantic. I don't, but it's all right. People, whatever. It's really weird. Like you see, like a lot of people in the YouTube community are just so against people having any type of one watch. It's so easy to see people passing judgment when it's really not what's going on in the real world. It's not why people buy these watches. I don't know why that guy bought the James Cameron, but like, I'm sure he just really liked it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so weird, and it's but I think at least in the YouTube community, like a lot of people out there, and it's not just YouTube, right? You see it in the Facebook groups. I think a lot of people are just very very insecure about the watches that they buy, because they buy them probably for the wrong reasons, the very very wrong reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's like, go out and buy a watch that you like, and I think that extends even to people that don't know about watches, right? Like I would never want to, like I wouldn't buy like, I don't know, a solid gold sports watch, right, for the price where I could get like a Earwork or an MB&F or like a crazy FP Journe for that price, right?
Yeah.
So why spend $60,000 for a three-hander that has like a mid-tier to entry-level hierology movement, right? But if you're not into the horology side of it, and that's the watch that you like go ahead and buy it.
Absolutely.
Right? But don't buy that watch because somebody else told you that that's the watch that you need to buy, right? It's like the Explorer 2. I actually have absolutely nothing against the Explorer 2. I find that it's a really cool watch, but I do prefer the 42 because of the orange hand. But so many people buy those. Yes, so many people buy those watches and they hate them, right? They just bought them because somebody told them that's the watch that you need to get, but secretly they hate it, right?
Almost every channel out there has, if you're going to get the Explorer 2, you get the 40 in the Polar, and the 42 is out of proportion and doesn't look right. And they say the same thing about the 39 Explorer. Same thing. It's just funny.
Yet the 42 has the hand from like the original one, right? The 40.
Yeah, it's the nearest to the 1655 you'll get, isn't it?
Yeah, the 40 is basically they took the GMT, right, the modern GMT2, and they put it in an Explorer case. It's not an Explorer 2, right? It's just a GMT2 with the Explorer bezel, whereas the 42 mil, that watch is cool.
Yeah. I think like there was recently, we Monochrome came out with that chart of their estimated top 10 watch sales last year.
Yeah, did you get that, Zippo? Did he?
I did, yeah.
To you, Zippo. Could you bring that up?
Oh, it might take me a few, but yes, I'll give her a go.
Yeah, great.
To me, that was so fascinating seeing that, because it goes against like everything you hear of these so-called YouTube watch experts talking to everyone else about.
Yeah, and
how many watches Longines sells? That's what blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, if we run from number 10 to number 1, we got number 10. We got Tag Heuer, estimated watch sales 650 million Swiss francs. Watches sold 500,000. Number 9, Hublot, estimated watch sales 670 million Swiss francs. Watches sold only 60,000 compared to Tag Heuer's 500,000. IWC.
Well, just think about that for a second, though. Hublot is like number 9. Would you ever think
number 9?
Listening to the watch YouTube community that Hublot is like the number 9?
Yeah. Hublot.
And and a lot of people in the YouTube watch community like to low key laugh at Jean-Claude Beaver, right? And sort of imply that all he does is goes into a company and makes skeletonized watches. But him, it's like Jean-Claude Beaver and Hayek, right? The president of Swatch, not the current one, but also his father.
Yeah.
Right? Those people they're the reasons why probably Rolex still exists and is making mechanical watches, right? You can't, but here's the thing about the YouTube community, and I think a lot of people on Facebook and social media and all that stuff. The first thing, and I always try to make this point when people are going on and on about, Omega doesn't know what they're doing, or Omega needs to start doing this, or Swatch needs to start doing that. If you've never run a company in your life, and if you have, but the company you've run in your life is like a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, even 100-man operation, right? If you haven't run a multi-billion-dollar company that sells retail luxury goods at the international level, maybe you shouldn't be like Monday quarterbacking. I might have that expression off. Backseat driving. Let's go with an expression I actually know.
No, you're good with Monday morning quarterback.
I don't know about football, right? So I all of a sudden I remembered that there is such a thing as Monday Night Football, or maybe there used to be. So I was like, is it Monday morning or Tuesday morning? So,
Yeah, no,
but
that's a legit expression. Monday morning
good,
quarterback.
good. But maybe you shouldn't be like criticizing Omega, and Omega has not been. Those companies have not been going along losing tons of money, like people say,
Well,
for 40
we'll
years, right?
we'll get to Omega.
Yeah.
We'll get to Omega.
But they've been doing well. They know what they're doing, and it's that's what reality is, right? Longines sold what, like 1.7 million units, right? It's so people need to understand that a lot of people's thoughts and statements are often divorced from reality, right?
So number 9 we had Hublot. Number 8 we got IWC. Estimated watch sales 825 million Swiss francs. Watches sold 100,000. So number 7.
That's incredible.
Sorry.
When you think about like IWC being there, you never hear people saying go buy an IWC watch.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, do you? No, not at all.
But the rest of the world is, the rest of the world looks at IWC watches and thinks, this is a really cool watch, and if I like it, I should go buy it, and they do.
Mm-hmm. And one point before you go on, Thomas, to the next one. One point here about exclusivity, right? 100,000 units sold in 2018, right? The latest number I saw was 2018. Patek made 62,000 watches, right? So IWC, that a lot of people sort of dismiss as like, mid-tier or, whatever, they're not making that many more watches than Patek, right? Or AP.
Right.
Yet they're still, their gross number is still like 825 million Swiss francs.
Well, the source is a Monochrome Watches article based on their own estimates established by cross-checking from different sources on 2019 sales.
Well, I think I think they're aggregating both like public disclosure, like shareholder disclosure for these companies and analysts, right? Data and that sort of stuff.
So number 8, we had IWC. Now, will you believe this? Number 7, Tissot. Estimated watch sales, 1 billion Swiss francs. Watches sold, 3.5 million. Absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tissot. Number 6.
So, like, if you want, like, if you look at this, and there's, let's say, a Tissot and an Oris, the online watch community would be like, "Oh, buy the Oris, You're being an
absolutely they would. Yeah, there's loads of buzz. There's a big buzz about Oris, isn't there? Yeah. Nobody talks about Tissot.
But
you don't.
I think like one of the things to take away from you is like, look, if you are looking to buy a watch right now, you don't really want to spend a crap load of money on a watch because you don't even know if you really like these things yet, but you are very intrigued by it. Seems to me like we should not shame people if they decide that they want to buy a Tissot.
No, not at all. Listen, my wife, I wanted to get her a watch. She's not into real fancy watches and stuff, but I got her a Tissot and she loves it. I did the same thing for my mother.
Yeah.
And I had one guy come up to me at work because he knew that I was into watches, and he said a friend of his wanted to get his first real mechanical watch. And I told him, look at Tissot. Well, if you want to spend under $500, you're getting a Swiss-made watch.
Yep.
So, and he ended up getting one, and he loves it.
I think my brother bought a PR 125 when he was about 20. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and I know we're gonna get to Longines too. I think Longines is an even better story, but
Yeah, so
there's nothing wrong with buying a Tissot if that's what you want. Yeah,
sure. So number 7, Tissot. Then we start getting to the heavy hitters. So we get to number 6, Audemars Piguet. Estimated watch sales 1.2 billion Swiss francs. Watches sold 40,000. So it's a lot less than Tissot at 3.5 million.
Yep.
So, 40,000 watches, and with 60,000 watches sold at number 5, and with an estimated watch sales at 1.5 billion, we have Patek Philippe.
There you go.
Only number 5. There you go. So, one step above them, though, we have, and it was Neo. No, Longines.
Longines, yes.
Estimated watch sales 1.65 billion. Watches sold 1.6 million. So Longines absolutely piling above Patek Philippe there. Yeah,
and that's probably going to increase, right? Just want to make that point quickly because there's been a lot of buzz from. It's been reported by Watchbox. It's been reported by Watch Advisor, by a lot of trade publications that as Omega's trying to go to
further
higher
upscale
price points, that Longines would go up, Tissot would go up.
It's going to fill that space.
Yeah, not necessarily leaving behind their better priced watches, right? Their cheaper stuff, but more like expanding their range, let's say.
I would love to talk to somebody maybe like 30 years older than me who's into watches, because I bet in the 60s and 70s Longines was considered even premier above what Omega was.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, Neo, because back in the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s, Longines was one of the premier names in watchmaking.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're into car racing, right? So if you're into Formula One, and you watch the old Grand Prix, like from the 60s, the 70s, they have those commercials all over the place, all over the tracks, right?
Oh yeah.
They were like, and I know somebody will say, well, today it's like Tag Heuer, right? So what does that mean? But the Tag Corporation has had a long-standing relationship with car racing and everything. But they were really, really high end.
Yeah, definitely.
So like now when people, like the Longines Big Eye and their dive watch,
Legend Diver.
Yep.
I had one of those. It was a great watch.
Yeah, those
I really enjoyed my time with it.
I think we should make sure that people coming into the hobby now know that it's perfectly okay to go buy that watch if you like it.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing is they'll have ETA movements because obviously Swatch owns ETA, and for all the doubters out there, right, that say, well, Swatch is stupid to not want to sell ETA movements to others, they're basically turning their back on a huge market. Look at the amount of watches that Swatch is making with ETA movements, right? It's in the millions.
Correct.
So,
If you were to stack up like
Yeah.
Tissot, Longines, and Omega together, would they overshadow that Rolex line? I think it might come pretty darn close, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so number 4, Longines.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And only 50 million Swiss francs above them is the King of Jewelers and Jewelers to Kings, Cartier.
That blew my mind.
1.7
Yeah,
billion.
very interesting. Very interesting.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Watches sold 450,000.
Yeah,
So,
and
selling quite a few watches.
yeah, so a huge number, right? So compare that to IWC. They're obviously selling, 4.5
Yeah,
times.
IWC 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.5 times.
Yeah, so they're selling 4.5. And yeah, they're only like what is it, double the gross value? Yeah, about double. So you see that their price per watch is probably lower than IWC, but they're selling a really high volume. But I think those numbers are skewed a little bit because they do sell a lot of women's watches, right?
Yeah.
That are lower priced, a
Mhm.
lot more than, let's say, an IWC. So
Sure.
I think if you were to remove the women's watches, their price per unit is probably pretty high as well. So yeah, they're doing well.
There's obviously a market.
Aren't they also starting to do their own movements? Or before they were buying off the shelf?
Yeah,
To at least
but
some of their watches.
yeah, they have for a couple of years though, and whether it's their own movement or it's Valkyrie, right, which is Richemont, they are. I think what we should take out of it, the takeaway should be they are, whether it's from their parent company or not, they're getting more into in-house or as in-house as it can be.
Right.
If I was a woman or if I had a wife, I would buy her a Cartier. I would be like the first watch I would get her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It just seems like it's such a classic watch for a woman.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
More jewelry than a watch, which is fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like to women, I recommend the Movado museum watch. A lot of women seem to like that watch.
Yep.
So number 3 at Cartier. Number 2, no surprise, Omega. Estimated watch sales 2.35 billion.
Bless you.
Watches sold, bless you.
Thank you.
650,000. Sorry, 650,000 watches sold. So that's quite an improvement on Cartier. And not a surprise though. It's quite a big company. Yeah. It's a lot of money as well. 2.35 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's top of the Swatch food chain though, isn't it?
Yep. It's a lot of money, and when we get to number 1, though, you'll see that it's, when you think about price per unit, it's not that far off from Rolex, right? And these are sales, so the whole notion that everything from Omega is getting sold under the table at 50% below what they would sell to a normal retailer.
Sure. So we go from Omega 2.35 billion and 650,000 watches sold to Rolex 5.5 billion and 950,000 watches sold.
Yep.
And that just goes to show you what a difference we've got there.
Yeah, that's quite a difference.
Yeah.
But but to their credit, I mean, right? I mean, Rolex is doing a freaking amazing job.
They're the king of marketing, aren't they?
They are.
They're just marketing machine.
Well, and they back it up with really amazing products, though, too. It's not
They
like
do, sure.
Right.
Just
That's
because.
it's one thing to be good at marketing, but if you don't back it up
Absolutely.
with a solid product, and that's what it is. It's not the fanciest, it's not the flashiest. It's rock solid.
Yeah.
That you can't take away from them.
I'd kind of like to see where Citizen would fit in there.
Yeah, they didn't do non-switch brands.
Yeah, so
I mean, where the likes of Vacheron, Breguet, JLC.
I was just going to say that, Thomas. Where further down on the list is
Breitling and Panerai paled
JLC.
into insignificance, you know.
Yep.
Where little brands like Moser and Parmigiani don't get looking, you know. It's just
Very good, honey.
You finished?
Linus,
Nope.
how many watches are Moser making a year?
Moser makes 1,500 watches.
Wow.
1,500. Okay.
And then an FP Journe, as an example, makes about 700, I think, 700 to 800.
Okay.
Kerry Voutilainen, I think
Parmigiani?
Parmigiani, I think they've always had trouble breaking the 3,000 ceiling. That's been their big problem because their Vaucher manufacturer is sort of too old to make. I forget. I read an article, but they're too old to make like 30,000 movements or something, right? Or 50,000 movements, and that's why they're struggling because they're just not selling that many.
Right.
So yeah, they have but when you think about those guys, they're too small, but it's a different time. It's a different time, but they are on track to being the next watchmaker's watchmaker, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think some of these smaller ones are profitable and doing well, or at least on track to being profitable and doing well. And they're not struggling, you know.
But they sell parts. They Parmigiani provides parts for a lot of other companies, don't they?
Yeah. The problem with Parmigiani is that they sell to a lot of watchmakers, but they don't sell enough. They don't sell as much as they should be. But ETA pulling back might mean that they get to sell more. And the Vaucher or whatever you want to call them, their watchmaker, their movement maker, I find it as a big missed opportunity for a lot of smaller watchmakers out there, because I would love to be able to go out and buy a high quality watch, right, from a smaller maker, and they turn around and they say, look, I'll sell you this $10,000 watch, right, or 6,000 or 7,000, but instead of putting an ETA that we just put a custom rotor on, here's a watch with like a real high horology, $1,000 Vaucher movement in it, as opposed to a $50 ETA, right? So I hope that with ETA stopping to supply so many watchmakers, that smaller watchmakers would turn around and say, hey, let's try to sell watches with high-end movements, because their movements, like their micro rotor movement, is amazing. Their more standard movements are really, really cool, and they do supply quite a few companies, right? From like Chapek, Richard Mille, Hermes. They supply a lot of companies, and they make great movements.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Parmigiani is just the aesthetics of the products that they produce, like the cases and the dials. I'm like,
Yeah.
they just don't speak to
They're
me.
not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah, no, I
Well,
hear you.
you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, but on top of that, they're also all over the place, right?
Yep.
They have
Right.
like 56 different movements. Like the Tonda 1950s, which is one of their newer designs. It's beautiful, right? Great dial, very classical. So like that, and apparently it works well. So like stick to that, right? Build a collection around that and like a couple of other uh, watches. But they have all these like, you know, weird oldie style watches, or you know, the dials are weird sometimes, and it's like they're really all over the place for a company that only makes 3,000 watches,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's weird.
The vision isn't quite cohesive.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And yeah, it's and there's like nothing that really defines them. It seems, right? It's like the what's the one, the tonneau shaped, the Kalpa, right? The Kalpa's kind of nice, but there's like 2,000 different variations of it. And you know, how many of those have they made? Like 4,000 maybe.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. Yeah.
They don't have a real iconic piece, do they?
I think the Tonda 1950 was supposed to be that, because that's been their biggest complaint, right? Everybody's been saying they don't do well because they don't have that. And the Kalpa never took off. The Pershing never took off. The Oval is super nice, but you know, you're not going to have an icon where a watch starts at $50,000 or $60,000, right? Yeah, they're just not there yet, and they're slightly in danger because the new generation of the Sandoz family, right? They're like their benefactors and the main shareholders. The new generation is sort of kind of unhappy with a lot of the businesses that the foundation owns that aren't really turning a profit. They're like, why are we maintaining all these businesses? And so Parmigiani might have to find a better direction at some point in the near future.
Yeah, like his patrons are his investors. Not
Yeah,
his
they are, right. And the thing is, he used to be, for that family, he used to be the guy who they basically hired him um, to do the restoration on all the old clocks and pocket watches for their museum, right, in Switzerland. And they said, look, you're doing an amazing job, right? You should, you know, let's start our own company. But the guy he's not like FB Journe, right? That had a vision, started something, he has an aesthetic, he has a plan, he has a following. They're just not like that.
Yeah, being a good engineer is different than being a good CEO.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's one of those guys that like should not be in charge. He should just be, you know, there to support the person who has the vision.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that was the great thing about you know, when the Grubel Force interview with Watchbox, right? With you know, he was saying, look, you know, because it's two partners, he's saying, look, my partner's, you know, the design guy, right? I'm the mechanical guy. You need sometimes like you need a good mechanical guy, you need a good design guy, and obviously they don't have that design guy. And you need a marketing person, and you need a CEO, and you need somebody who's going to make the right decisions. You know, because at the end of the day, to go back to this list, right? Everybody jokes about Omega, but you like, oh, another Speedmaster limited edition. But that other Speedmaster limited edition that they make 3,000 just sold out, like the Ultraman, right? It sells out in 50 minutes.
Couple hours.
Yeah, that's it.
Right,
And it might not be like what somebody thinks is the best design ever or whatever, but it's what pays the bills. It's what brings in the money.
And they've got a solid enough base that they can do that, right? Even, for fun, basically. They're going to make their money on the professional, and so why not expand that a little bit and see what else they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like going back to winning the lottery. If I won the lottery today, I would pick up a Speedy Hezolite. I'd pick up the new 321 Speedy, and I think for $14,000 to get a handmade watch is a freaking bargain.
Damn right.
I would pick up like the first edition of the Speedy Tuesday. I would pick up a Dark Side of the Moon Pitch Black edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I would pick up a Gray Side of the Moon.
Yeah. And
I think those are all great Speedmasters. If I had infinite money, I'd go buy one of each of those.
Yep. And that's one super cool thing about Omega, right? That people often don't. I know the guy from Fratello Watches always says he's the guy who started Speedy Tuesday and all the credit should go to him, right? But let's be honest, he posted a hashtag one day, right? That's what he did. But Omega latched on to that, right? And whenever I hear,
and then they ran with it. Yep.
Yeah, and whenever I hear they're, like the usual YouTube pundits, they're bad at marketing. Omega's just doesn't understand it. Think Speedy Tuesday, right? You think they're not good at marketing? They have a movement, right? They have thousands, if not millions, of people that wait until Tuesday to put a watch on and take a picture of it, right?
Correct.
That is marketing, right? It's marketing.
Right.
And like the new Bond edition, right, where everybody's like, oh, they talk about Daniel Craig and this and that. They got so much free publicity from that thing.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
For sure.
That new Bond watch is like maybe like one of the few Bond watches I would actually want to own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that if I had unlimited funds, I'd definitely pick up that No Time to Die new Bond watch because it's cool looking. It really is.
Does any other watch company have a hashtag that everybody else goes for?
Sorry?
Does any other company have a hashtag that has been embraced?
Not like
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm
Born
sure they
to
do.
Dare by Tudor. Hashtag Born to Dare. Oh,
yeah.
Was it Born to Dare?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it depends. It depends how widespread you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think every brand has one. I think there's FP Journe Friday, but that's obviously, more limited.
Like 3 people put on a watch on Fridays for FP Journe Friday.
Yeah.
And just nobody else has got that behind them. That's sort of viral marketing, basically.
Yeah, I think on the level of Speedy Tuesday, probably not.
No.
That one's big. It's huge.
So, Flippin', what watches are you looking at lately?
A Black Bay. Been looking into that somewhat.
Nice.
And
the 41 or the 50 or the
41
58.
The 41.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think those are great watches, Flippin'. Like if you end up with a Black Bay, like I think those are solid watches that will last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Especially if you like it, right? If you like it, and you're not one of those people that's buying it as a stepping stone for for a Submariner. If you like it, it's a great watch. It's a watch you don't feel guilty about owning. You can, you can be rough with it. It's a great watch.
Yeah.
Hey, Zippo.
Yes,
What else
sir.
are you at flipping?
I know we've just been talking about Longines. Is there any chance you could bring a couple up for me?
I sure can.
We could discuss them.
I have been thinking about just an OP 41, but that would likely be down the road.
If you want an OP41, you really have to go on Canadian Watch Collector,
Yeah.
that website. And if you're not, so I know the white looks nice and the black looks nice, but those are like the in hype watches for now. If you're okay with the other colors, which I find really, really cool, they go for cheap sometimes in like brand new condition. We're talking really cheap in Canadian dollars in Canada. Yeah, like this summer they were going for, $5 or under $5, like any day of the week.
Oh wow.
Canadian, that's
That I used to go, or I try to go on Can Watch Co. and I thought it was shut down, to be honest with you. Maybe I was using the wrong browser or something, but
it's because you have to create an account. If you don't have an account, it looks shut down, but because you can't see the classifieds.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Can you guys see the Longines page here?
Yep.
Yeah. Can you type in the Heritage Classic, Longines Heritage Classic?
Mm-hmm.
I think Longines still promotes the Kentucky Derby, doesn't it?
Really?
Yeah, I think Longines is still the sponsor for the Kentucky Derby.
This one here? I guess I can get rid of the Canada.
Any sucker dial I'm a sucker for.
Yeah.
They are cool.
Yeah, that's a nice watch.
It is. I'll go back.
Yeah, that's £1,600. I think. I think that's a really good buy for that sector dial.
It's got some. I like the proportions to that.
It's a good looking watch.
Yeah. A little more dressy than I would typically go for.
Hey, I'll be right back.
You got her.
Sure.
What size are these? 38-ish?
It's 38.5, I think.
It's got a nice classic look to it, eh?
Yeah. Would you be more into like a sports watch, like the Hydro Conquest, or?
Yeah.
If you try the Longines Legend Diver.
Yeah, that I had that. That's a great watch. It's a great watch.
Do they still make it?
I think so.
I think they do, yeah.
I don't know if I've seen these actually.
They're very long lug to lug. They're like 53 millimeters lug to lug. That's the only, and it was like reaching the limits of my 7.5 inch wrist.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a great watch. It looks good. It lays flat on the wrist.
That's
really
the only.
nice.
Looks like a really nice watch.
It does.
It's got the two crowns, hasn't it, to adjust the inner bezel.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's the problem with very long lugs. Just have to be careful of the fit.
That's
Definitely
really the
when you
only
have-
drawback.
Yeah, you got to try that one on before you buy it for sure. Right?
Yeah.
Well, another diver they do is the Longines Skin Diver. If you want to check that one out.
Right.
Yeah, it's very similar, but with the outer bezel, right?
The bezel instead of the inner bezel, yeah. Skin
I wonder
Diver.
what is the bezel to bezel. Is it the same case or?
It kind of looks
very
like it
similar.
from the picture.
Mhm.
I don't know if I could pull that off. I think that would be too much for me. But that's a cool, like, kind of. It reminds me of the Mont Blanc.
Do you know what it reminds me of? And look, I don't know which came first, but with the font on the automatic, it's a lot like the original JLC Polaris or Memovox divers.
Oh yeah,
That have the very, very similar look with the similar kind of cursive automatic font.
Right.
That's a nice watch.
I like that.
It is.
I mean, at least it's the.
I like the hand.
The lugs are the holes for the strap are not at the very end, so it should still fit. The worst that might happen is you have a little bit of lug overhang.
Yeah, the lugs are sticking out a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it's still a nice looking dial.
Pardon me?
It's still a nice looking dial.
It is.
It is. Was that
Do you
the
guys
problem
call
for
that,
you?
would you consider that Botina?
I don't know. I think it's the same as the GLCs and the Pelagos.
Well,
at this point,
it is part of the heritage range, so it could be they could be aiming for that.
It is, but I'd say at that point, it's the color scheme they decided on.
Yeah, I'd say so with that.
And this watch, if it was all white, would look like any cheap diver out there, right? I think I don't know, and especially with Longines, right? The original, you know, remember at some point all their stores, their boutiques, the logo was always the name of the company in gold, right?
Right.
To me, this looks more like classic Longines than anything else. I think on a watch like this, it's more than appropriate. I'd say it's fine.
I like it on the mesh. That's nice. On the sharp mesh,
cool
that's
on the
nice.
Mesh is weird. It's one of those things where I hate it, except on a very select few watches. Like I think it looks great. Mesh looks great on the Omega Pro Prof. It looks great. I know it's not mesh. It's more like small beads of rice, but I think it looks great on like a Doxa or similar divers. But on some watches, I hate it. But it just my opinion, right? I'm not. If I see somebody else wearing it, I'm not going to say it's a crappy watch or whatever.
Of course,
right, of course.
Just what you'd buy.
Yeah.
So, could you just have a look at the Longines Heritage Military 1938?
Longines.
That's a good one for you.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Longines Heritage Military 1938.
Is that the one with the actual faux patina on the dial? Oh no, it's a different one. That one's nice.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know which one you're talking about, where they literally put the specs on the dial to make it look like it's older. Yep.
That one is
that's lovely. That
Yeah.
Straight out of the wall.
I love the blued hands on that one.
Yeah,
they really stand out. But that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
yeah. Like me,
I like
no.
Yeah, it's not like this one. The 1938, I find is cool, but the Heritage Military, I think it's called just the Heritage Military.
It's got a cream dial. Yeah, it's got a cream dial.
That one, if it was a straight cream dial with those hands that they have on it, would be perfect. I think it's just a step too far for me, right? It's just me. For me, it's a step too far.
Sure.
I really like the case on this one.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's the classic old kind of like field watch case that's like totally unassuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unexceptional, but looks amazing. It's like classic.
Right. Does that have a big old bubble crystal on it?
Good question.
It's kind of hard to tell, but it kind of seems like it might.
What, you mean the crystal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't know. Domed crystal.
Yeah. It's hard to tell from here.
It is.
Yeah, it looks a bit domed.
Could be, yeah. Just that first picture.
So I like that one right there. I like it when those numbers are like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. I like it. It's a nice watch. Yeah.
That's very versatile, right? That'll go with anything.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a dress watch. It could be a casual watch. It could be anything.
And
here's one for you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you can just change the strap, right? To change the look. And I think
change the look.
Yep. Yeah, I think Thomas, you were talking about that that Zenith, right? What was it called again? The
A384.
Yeah, with the more cushion case.
Yeah.
Type. I think that watch is one of those. It's like kind of like a Panerai where you'll be able to totally change the look of it by changing the strap.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's now come out with a ladder bracelet. It's they've just brought out with a ladder bracelet, which is quite nice.
Was that what you would get on?
Bracelet? Did your bracelet come?
It went through customs on Saturday. It's in Montreal right now, so tomorrow or Tuesday I should get it.
Nice.
Oh, brilliant!
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't wait.
Here's one for you. Here's one for you, Zippo. It's the Big Eye, the Longines Big Eye. You're a chronograph man, aren't you? So
yes,
you like this one. Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
That's gonna look great. Can't wait to see pictures.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I think people who bought it from Joma Shop last month when it was on sale, they got a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
On which? Sorry, I didn't hear what you're saying.
Joma Shop.
Yeah, they were on sale last month.
For what? Sorry, I missed that again.
On Joma Shop. It was on sale on Joma Shop.
Yeah, what was on sale?
Month.
This Longines Big Eye.
This watch.
Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
In that movie,
it really looks nice. It really looks like a Breguet, doesn't it? It's got that real. The hand on the right looks like a Breguet. The sub dial on the right looks like a Breguet style.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know if there were many chronographs in the military, but that's what that gets me thinking of.
Yeah, and that has the movement. That's part of the. It's the ETAs that are part of the family. It's the same ones as the ones that have retrogrades. It's the Valgrange family. It's like they were the Valjoux 7750 that they modified and created a new series of movements that were designed to be big, right? For big watches, so case filling movements,
Right.
but designed to be like newer, even though they were based on something tried and tested and true. So this one has a column wheel chronograph. It's a really cool movement. So
Yeah.
When did you guys have a 7750 in a watch?
No, I don't
No.
think no.
which
I
is funny
had one
because
in a glycine, but I don't have it anymore.
it's funny because it's a lot of people sort of look down on it, but it's actually it's a very important movement in watchmaking in general,
absolutely, yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
It was the post quartz crisis workhorse. So,
Right.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
I've got the 7753.
Oh, in
Yeah,
your Omega?
Watch Chronicler did a video on the Valjoux.
So like the 7753 is just like the 50, but on the side, the placement is of the dials are like this, right?
Of
They're at
the subdials, yeah.
Yeah.
3, 6, and 9, and
yeah. Aesthetically, I like them better laid out like this than at 6, 9, and 12. But
yeah, and also the classic 7750 is a little bit busy too, right? Doesn't it usually have the a day
day and the
date?
date.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 Yeah, mine's weird. It's got the date is at 4 o'clock on this one. Bit of a busy dial, but it's not bad. It's a chunky watch though.
Yep.
It's got to be pushing 13, 14 mil thick.
You think?
Somewhere in there. Maybe just 12, but I'd say 13, 14 with the crystal on it.
yeah, they're thicker. Anything with the 7750 is thicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the one that's in this watch, right, in the big eye, the movement, that sort of the updated 7750, but that's its own line. The diameter of that movement is 30 millimeter, so it's a big movement.
Yeah.
So I can see why Longines are steaming ahead of Patek Philippe.
On that chart there, I'd like to see the breakdown by country or even continent.
Well, I can tell you that
that'd be very interesting. Yeah.
If it's anything like Swatch, the Swatch group, it's 20 to 25% is just China.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
No.
So that's why the coronavirus thing is going to hit the industry hard. That's why Swatch already canceled their event, their post Basel event.
Right.
Where was that going to be held?
I think they were going to do it in Geneva, right?
Yes.
But and look, there's a lot of people have been saying that SIHH or Watches and Wonder and Basel, it's not off the table that they get canceled this year because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost. Part of me is sad to see that go away, but part of me is excited that we would be liberated from that schedule when it comes to releasing of watches.
Well, I think for a lot of companies, we are already. It's really just, it's almost just Rolex that's still tied to that, because
Right.
most
Rolex and Tudor. Yeah.
yeah, because Richemont and LVMH, I think over the last couple of years, released some stuff at SIHH, right?
Right.
Well, LVMH is weird because they have sort of like a parallel show, right? They don't really go to the show, but they've been releasing stuff at around SIHH, but they've been releasing a lot of stuff at around Dubai Watch Week and other events throughout the year. So it's really Rolex that's still there, right? Most of the other companies, especially the small independents, they release stuff all year, really, at this point.
Right. Correct.
Well, it is not a lot. It's really expensive to set up a booth at Basel, is it not? Like, to the point that you could do 3 smaller shows for the cost of doing Basel.
Well, Basel got ridiculous and more ridiculous as the years went by, to the point where, like, the hall they're in, it's all permanent booths now, right? Really, really expensive permanent things, and it just got more and more expensive, and they kept complaining about it, and it kept becoming more and more expensive. I think Basel is going to go away at some point, and what's going to be left is probably SIHH or Watches and Wonder Geneva, and for however long it lasts, Dubai Watch Week. But we know, who knows? Dubai Watch Week. The Middle East is a very artificial market, right? That might last, might not last. So
yeah, it's weird the stories you hear about Dubai and whatnot. Yeah. Like with how you'll hear about cars being, supercars being just left at the airport.
Well, there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money out there.
Yeah. Yep. Bizarre.
I worked for a CEO that would, like, this was pre 9/11. He was infamous for like he'd rent a car, he'd go to the airport, he'd be running late, he'd leave the car, the rental car, parked outside of the gate, calling up his secretary saying, "Can you deal with this now? I'm going in." So it's not just Dubai.
No.
Yeah.
It's a different world. I don't live in that world. I only get to hear about that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know next to nothing about it, but you hear the stories once in a while about that, and it's almost unbelievable. You take it with a grain of salt if it's happened more than once, but it gets blown up in a story, and who knows?
Oh, I bet it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the ID guy video with the Rolex Basel predictions?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That was some interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting, but it does show where Rolex is at, right? Mm-hmm. It's people are waiting for new and exciting colors.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I
saw the talking about the big guy in chronographs. I saw that the IWC Portuguese had got a new in-house automatic chronograph movement. Because for years that's used Valjoux or Solita off-the-shelf movement, and only had in the higher end limited edition movements. They've only had possible in-house movements, and
that's
brought
that's good.
They brought out 6 versions with a new in-house movement, and with the exhibition case back. So that's another.
This one here, the big pilot. Is that what you were saying?
No, the Portuguese.
No, the IWC Portuguese.
I think your best bet is to go to. Weren't they featured on the Houdinki?
That was on a blog to watch.
Oh, a blog to watch, and also maybe on watches by SJX. Also, I think.
You guys know anything about a blog to watch? It seems like Ariel is just out there doing it by himself these days. Like he's lost maybe some support.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
never
no,
paid.
you don't see the you don't see the two other guys that he had doing some reporting with him.
Yeah, the European guys, right?
Yeah. One guy's Russian, and I forget the other guy is, but you don't see them as much.
I know the name.
I like Ariel Adams, but he's lately he seems to be like a hired gun. And, a brand will hire him and when they're doing a launch or something, and he'll be spruiking that brand. I mean, I still enjoy his videos and I enjoy his site. It's just he seems to be doing that more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like something's happened in there with the blog to watch in the last year that they've. I love that watch. I have that watch actually.
Which
one's that?
That Maigret.
Oh.
The Cara edition.
All right.
It's actually been getting fixed for about a year now. Like the problem buying a micro brand. It's got an STP movement in it. How freaking hard is it to fix the damn thing?
That's what scares me about any micro brand is unless it's got an ETA movement in it. Which I guess most of them probably do though, don't they?
No, they don't. Most don't have like Solitas or Myotas, or this one has an STP. As you know, STP is fossil.
Yes, STP is fossil. Yep.
Yeah.
But shouldn't that be easy to fix, though?
You would think so, right? You would think so.
Should be, because they're all. I mean, like the STP movement is it's like a lot of them. They're based off of ETA architecture. 2824 architecture.
And I mean, how much does an STP movement cost? If they can't fix it, can't they just
replace it?
Yeah.
Right, replace it.
$50 maybe. It shouldn't even be $50.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do have that watch. I haven't seen it in about a year because it's been off getting fixed. As soon as it gets fixed, I'm going to sell it. I can guarantee you that.
Jeez. Sorry, what the IWT Portuguese? Which one? Big Eye? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's
no, not Big Eye.
It's the
IWT Portuguese.
Yeah, 3716.
3716. Take a look at that one.
That's always been a nice watch because the watch, the dial, the watch face is so clean and nice on that watch.
Yeah. Oops. Oh.
And again, I think it's a good thing that they're going in-house, but I also think that it was really, really unacceptable for them to not be in-house, given that they're part of Richemont, right? It's like, just call up the mothership and get them someone to create a movement for you, you know?
Do you think they're more serviceable if they're not?
The problem with IWC was always,
Yep.
Just to put in a base ETA movement, it wasn't justifiable, at least in my eyes. They're beautiful watches.
I get if you're like a tiny independent, right? And you don't have the budget, you don't have the resources, but how hard is it to, especially when you're as established as IWC, how hard is it to do what Panerai did, and call up JLC and say, hey, let's get together and make some cool stuff. We'll get Val Fleurier to build them, and let's build a few movements.
Right, or do a swap like Breitling and Tudor did.
Yeah.
Is that what happened, Dennis, with Panerai? Did they call up JLC?
Well, so Panerai, the 8-day, right? The first 8-day that they had, or I don't know if it's the first one or the second 8-day that they had, that had the sort of Côte de Soleil finishing on it. That's basically based on the 8-day movement that JLC had. The 8-day movement that they had, the master 8 days, and they also had technically the 8-day reverso was based on the same architecture, except that to make it a square movement, the barrels were one on top of each other instead of one next to each other. Those were JLC, but now the newer ones are Val Fleurier, which is the movement maker from within Richemont. And look, I don't run Richemont, right? So I can't tell you that for sure. But
of course,
it's got to be some of it's got to be designed by the guys at JLC. Just that's what makes the most sense.
I thought, and I don't know this either, but I thought though the way they run their teams that JLC doesn't have to be poached anymore. Like people used to go to JLC and sort of demand their technology, but I don't think JLC has to give anybody the technology anymore. But again, I'm not an insider. I just for some reason think that these days.
Yeah, I doubt that they have to, but they do make some exchanges, right? So somebody mentioned the Breitling Tudor thing, like the cheap perpetual calendar that IWC makes and that JLC makes as well, which is the modular one. That one was an IWC movement, module that JLC uses. It's one of the rare times that JLC uses something from somebody else. But they do exchanges like that, but now that they have Val Fleurier, right? They have their own independent maker that can make movements for them. So, yeah, look, I think that IWC should be doing stuff in house, and they have so much access to stuff that's better than ETA,
right?
That there's no reason to be using an ETA unless, like the Tudor Ranger. Right? The Tudor Ranger is a great example of a watch that retails for like maybe, I don't know, like $3K, $2,500, something like that. You get it for $1,500.
Yeah.
Great watch, great case, ETA movement. That's great, right? They're not trying to overcharge you.
Hey, and if you're going to use an ETA movement, just say you are. Be upfront about it. That's the other thing that ticked me off about IWC. They play games. If you're going to use it, then say you're using it. Be upfront about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they're not cheap either, are they? Like they're up there in price.
No, yeah.
So, reflect the price if you're using an ETA.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. It's even worse when you think about if you're using an ETA movement, right, and you're still charging $10,000 for the watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you at least putting more money on refinishing the movement, but also the finish on everything else, right?
Correct.
Is the case great? Is it a great clasp, right? Is it like a really nice strap? I think a lot of IWCs, you pick them up, and if you consider that there's not a lot of money being put on the movement, is it a $10,000 watch? Like, is it the dial of a $10,000 watch, the case of a $10,000 watch? Sometimes it's not. Right. So that's even worse.
Yeah, they're not. There are no hand guilloche dials on IWC.
Yeah.
Some of their new IFCs though are pretty interesting, like the Spitfire World Timer.
Oh, the Spitfire is very cool, and that has an in-house movement.
Yeah.
So this year, where's that $10,000 going?
I would still get a 5002, Big Pilot 5002. I don't think 5002.
That's a 502, is it?
Is it a 2 or is it a 4? I don't know the dial well enough to
see what it says.
Yeah, I'd want to get the one with the newer movement that's not too fast, right? Because the first generation of the 8-day, but I don't know if that's the 001. The first one, the movement was sort of kind of weird with the big barrel instead of 2 barrels. So it's like, you know, if you're always wearing it, it's 30 seconds fast all the time. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, this is a 5009.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are on small screen. 500912 for this here. I don't know what that means, but yeah, like that doesn't look like a $10,000 watch. I don't know what the movement is.
It's a big watch, though, isn't it?
It's gigantic. It doesn't actually fit my wrist very well at all.
Plus, you have that huge crown. You know, I know it's part of the aesthetic, but you have to factor that in when you're getting that.
Yeah, big diamond crown. Yeah.
Captain Zed had one of these for the longest time, and if you watch his videos, I don't know if he still has it, but if you watch some of his older videos, his fits perfect.
No, Captain Zed doesn't have one anymore, I don't think.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
Yeah, I've seen him with a lot of big watches.
Hasn't he?
Yeah. Sorry?
What were you saying, Thomas?
I think Ron the Shrink's just bought one, hasn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he bought the one that has the movement that's fast.
How is it fast? What you're saying that it runs 30 seconds fast?
Yeah, so the first movement that they put, like the earlier ones, the first like in-house movement, it to be able to do 8 days, it's got a gigantic mainspring. Okay. So the problem with having a huge mainspring is that in the beginning it's got lots of torque and then it has less torque. So the beginning when it's fully wound, it's got too much torque, so it runs too fast. And Richard Habring, right, that used to work at IWC, even admitted that it's a design flaw, but because they didn't do it with 2 barrels back then, you know, nobody was really doing that. The plan was they figured, look, this is a huge watch, right? It's a gigantic watch. Nobody's going to wear it every day. So it'll run fast in the beginning, and then it'll run too slow. So if you only wear it the weekends, you wind it at the beginning of the week, and the too fast and too slow averages out. By the time you're wearing it on the weekend, it should be in the sweet spot. It should be running okay. But if you're always wearing it, it's an automatic, right?
Yeah.
So it's always wound too much. So it's always running fast.
Wow.
And you can't really adjust it, right? You can't go to a watchmaker and get it adjusted. So it's a lot of money for a watch that's always going to run like 30 seconds fast.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
seems
like quite the controversial. I don't know.
Well, you know, I guess that's how they decided to do it, but that's why now everybody uses two barrels. So you have a more in parallel. So you have a more, you know, a more uniform torque. Or if some people use a big barrel, but they limit how much it can unwind, right, with a physical limit. So you're always running just half of the barrel, and then you have some watchmakers that are really anal about it and perfectionists. So like FP Journe, they have two. They'll use twin barrels, but even with twin barrels, it just has 48 hours of power reserve because they only use half of the two barrels. Like each barrel doesn't unwind more than half because you just put like a little stopper, right? So the spring can't unwind more than a certain level. So that way they always have constant torque. It's a way of doing like what a remontoir d'égalité would do without actually having it. So.
That's more advanced knowledge than I know about. It's one thing I don't know much about the movements, to be honest. Learning process.
No, it's a really cool thing if you're interested in it, right? You don't have to be. You can be into watches for being into watches. You don't have to learn everything there is to know about movement.
Yeah. The
It's
Bill
all
Sanders
a learning
video.
process, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's why
watch outside. That's the best place to learn for me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think that's why, like, I don't think people should just go off and start buying these very expensive watches without actually knowing what they're looking for.
Yep.
That's another example of why I kind of always do like the latest tech in watches. I'm not a big vintage fan because I kind of want the newest tech.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. You know, I know it's mechanical watches. I know people don't necessarily care about complete accuracy, right? But do you want to watch that if you run a little bit too fast with it on your wrist one day, like the regulator slides and it's it's running fast or running slow. It's not a bad thing to have a watch that has technology that's not 100 years old.
Yeah.
Well, I agree too. Yeah.
When you were talking
Nothing
about
wrong
that earlier,
with having a watch that runs a little bit slow, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Like people are making they're 3D printing mechanical watches.
Yep.
And that's
they're 3D printing everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild.
Well, but why not just go get a System 51?
Yeah.
At that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. Why not get a System 51? I ask myself that often. I should get one. So, I think the new ones are supposed to be serviceable, right?
I don't think so. I mean, my System 51 looks like it's just like it's all massively enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I read something that the new ones can be serviced. You're absolutely right, Nia. The original ones were just meant to be thrown away when they stopped working or if there was an issue.
Yeah.
But I think the new ones can be serviced.
They're cheap, right? They're less than $200. Or am I wrong?
Depending on which one you get, right? They have some with the bracelet and everything, but yeah, I think you can get them for relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna go. It's been a pleasure. Talking to you all, and hopefully we'll do it again next weekend.
Yeah, great talking to you, Bruce.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care, man.
I think I'm going to go as well, guys. It's been a couple of hours. Got to start thinking about dinner.
Take care, Ernest.
Yeah, take care, guys. We'll do this again next week. Great talking to you guys.
Yeah,
You
definitely. Too. Great talking to you, buddy.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, should we call it?
Sure.
All right.
Thanks for hosting this, Flippin.
Oh, yeah. Happy to do it. I learn a lot every time, so it's great for me. So
is Carlos still there? Maybe Carlos left.
I don't know.
I don't know if Carlos is still in the chat or not.
I think Carlos may still be around.
Maybe.
Are you there, Carlos?
Oh, it says 4 watching right now, so I'm assuming. I don't know, actually.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Can I just ask you guys your opinion on a watch which was released recently?
Sure.
Which was the Grand Seiko 60th anniversary.
Which one?
Can you type this in for us, Zippo?
Sure can.
It's the SBG.
Okay, SBG.
SBGH 281.
Grand Seiko. Okay. Is this on the share? No. Oh, 1 second. I'll get it on the screen here. This is a new one?
This is a latest high beat. 36,000 beats a minute. Beats per hour. Limited edition. To celebrate 60th anniversary of Grand Seiko.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I know I really like their dials.
Oh, yeah. The detail they get is unbelievable.
So here's my opinion. I think Grand Seikos are really awesome. I think the high beat is awesome. I think the spring drive is awesome. If I were to get a Grand Seiko, and here's my thinking. If I was going to get a Grand Seiko, I would want the spring drive because I have the El Primero, which is high beat. And
yeah, sure.
I got one,
absolutely.
And if I got one, I would get the Snowflake because to me that dial is special. But I think this is a gorgeous one. I think I like Grand Seiko. We have a Grand Seiko dealer in Minneapolis here, so I've seen a bunch of these, and I think they're all really
right.
I think they're all.
I love the Peacock.
Oh yeah, the Peacock. The Peacock's so expensive to buy. Like that's so hard to get.
Really,
yeah, the Peacock's
really.
Awesome.
I got to take a look at that. I don't even know what that one is.
The Peacock is a high beat GMT watch.
It's a GMT, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. It's so I think this is a great watch. I think this will look awesome with your No Doubt Thomas. Yeah, this is the Peacock.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one in person.
Green is my least favorite color, but I always still look at the Peacock and think, "Wow, this is a cool watch."
High beat 3600. That is something, eh?
Yeah, I think
here's my problem with
what do you think? What do you think if they didn't have Seiko on? Do you think they'd sell more?
Yeah, I do personally.
Yeah, I don't care if it has Seiko on it myself. I mean, people make fun of Seiko all the time.
I don't personally, but I just think as a generalization, do you think they'd sell more if they rebranded?
Probably. Yeah.
I think their only their only fault is their marketing is.
Yeah.
But think of it like this though, like people make fun of Seiko, but Seiko is the company that nearly destroyed the Swiss watch industry.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, the quartz crisis. Yeah, Seiko.
Like it all came from Seiko. So like they are a major player. Like I don't know if I was Seiko, if I would not want to put Seiko on my Grand Seiko. You know what I mean? Like it'd be a pride for me.
Yeah. No,
that's true.
That's the whole point.
And this could just be like the North American thinking side of it that that the word Seiko is doing more harm than good. In Japan, it could be a totally different story, right?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, like a lot more praise over there than here. So,
How much discount would you be able to get on this though, given that it's the 60th anniversary and it just came out?
How much was, sorry?
Excuse me?
sorry?
So you broke up a
Oh,
bit.
I was saying
That's what you said.
the fact that this just got released as the 60th anniversary edition may make it difficult to get a discount on it.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah.
But I bet if you were to wait a year, you could probably get a discount on it.
Oh yeah.
Like, and there, was this essentially the last time there was an innovation in watchmaking? I've heard that said about Grand Seiko. The spring drive is
with the spring drive. Yeah.
the newest technology, basically.
Yeah, I think spring drive is an awesome technology, and I consider it to still be mechanical. I don't care what other people say.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a hybrid of
all that
quartz and mechanical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's producing a mechanical field that slows down time telling, or speeds it up.
Right.
Actually, it doesn't speed it up. It can only slow it down. It can put a brake if it's running too fast.
Well, and they're just deadly accurate, right?
Oh yeah,
like
especially on a high beat.
Yeah. And they're beautiful. They make the nicest looking dial out there.
Yeah.
But I do think that their marketing is their only downfall. And
this is really their branding and their marketing.
Yeah.
They've got a massive following in Japan, though, haven't they? They've got a huge following.
Yeah. Well, and
a very loyal very loyal following in Japan.
Yeah, and we all know how good they are. Anyone who knows anything about watches knows that they are like top quality. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think if people are gonna buy a watch like $500 or less, they should really look at Seiko.
Yeah, I've got some.
Yeah.
So. All right. Okay, guys, I'm gonna call it myself.
All right, man.
Thank you. So
great one, Zippo. Nice one.
Yeah,
it's been a good one.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, Carlos says he's in the backstage, but we're leaving. All right.
Oh shoot, is he? I was looking at the.
Oh, sorry, Carlos.
We'll get him on for a quick hello.
No, just to say hello. Yeah.
Hey, man.
I was watching you, expecting and leaving the space if someone else will join us.
That's not necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, Carlos.
Yeah.
Next week. How about next week? Come on.
No,
we'll save
and apart of that, I usually don't have a lot to add regarding watches.
I like listening to you on these steps.
Yeah. Me too.
How you been, man?
Apart of that, I think that I don't have a good Wi-Fi where I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well,
Neo, it's been great to chat, buddy. It's been great to chat, Neo.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I love talking to you guys, so it's nice to just talk watch.
You got to come on again, man.
Yeah.
You got to come on again, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Got to make it a regular thing.
All right. Totally.
Okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
All right. Take care, guys.
Later.
Take care. Bye.
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 Adios.
Adios.
Ciao.
Adios.